Hello, leaders. Hey, this is Paul Grau, and welcome to Run to Your Leadership Challenges, the daily show that equips team leaders to lead through the challenges that they face every day. So, I'm still feeling a bit under the weather, but my right-hand man and editor, Neil, is going to set you up with a few reruns from Season 1. And these episodes are going to talk about some inadequate training practices that many teams are still using today. I think you're going to enjoy these episodes as they are just as relevant today as they were a few years ago. So, with that said, here we go.
Hello, leaders, and welcome back to Day 5 of this week's challenge. So, the last 4 days, we talked about the inadequate training practices of assuming your people know stuff, one size fits all, no continuity, and no accountability, and how you can avoid these pitfalls. Today, we're going to talk about the inadequate training practice of no interaction and how this inadequate training practice can lead to training that is boring, not retained by your people, and simply difficult to apply back on the job, even if the actual training content is great. And of course, I'll give you 3 primary tips on how you can positively impact this training deficiency. Okay. Let's jump into today's inadequate training practice of no interaction. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever sat through a long training session that was all lectures and PowerPoints? Now, before you answer, I already know that based on what we talked about on Tuesday, there's a percentage of you that are thinking how awesome lectures and PowerPoints are during a training session. However, for the remaining 75 to 80% of us, we thought that training was the absolute worst thing ever that we had to endure in our lives, right? I mean, how much more boring can training get than just lectures and straight up PowerPoints with no interaction? So the thing is, if you're loading up your training with lectures and PowerPoints without any type of interaction at all, you are missing approximately 75% of your trainees. And worse yet, you are not giving them any type of immediate win with the training. Now, what I consider a win in training is something that is learned and immediately applied on the job, or at least as soon as your trainee returns to work. Quite frankly, it's difficult to do that if nearly 3/4 of your trainees have tuned out during the training. So why keep doing that? Well, here's a few tips to help you avoid this death by PowerPoint training and boring lectures. First of all, make it as real as you can to the actual job or task that is being trained, and minimize any PowerPoints that you have. If you must use PowerPoints, use bigger font and just put bulleted statements on there. Lectures can actually be livened up enough to get some type of interaction, but you have to include your trainees by breaking it up into smaller sections. Give them details and then ask them some pointed questions and/or ask somebody to rephrase what you just said. Or best of all, ask for some specific examples from the actual job of what you just lectured them on. Next, you can ditch the lectures and PowerPoints altogether and have interactive training exercises that get your trainees out of your seat and learning together. This can be a lot of fun. And yes, we can learn when we have fun. I'd even argue that you may be able to learn more and actually retain more when you are having fun. You know, there's just something about laughter that makes people remember what they're talking about or what they're learning. Finally, develop training activities that include groups of trainees that are immediately applicable. If you are training on a situation where you can utilize the actual work scenarios, man, do so, as that makes it as real as it can get. The bottom line is the more applicable to the actual back-on-the-job work that you can make your training, the better, and the easier that it'll stick, and the easier your people will have to retain it. Okay. That's it for today. The bottom line is to mix up your training by making it instantly applicable, and don't be afraid to have fun. Heck, in the graduate classes that I teach and organizations I train at, we are known to laugh really loudly. And you know what? The clients, the students, the trainees, they absolutely love it and they remember it. I have students coming back to me years after I've taught a class and they'll recall some of the stuff we learned in class or some of the exercises we did. Hey, as always, I greatly appreciate you for listening, so thank you. And until tomorrow, run to your challenges.